So how much should we pay Elon Musk over at Tesla?
How much?
Well, the first pay package was 56 billion with
Billion.
with a B.
Yeah.
And the court said that's just too much. Basically, it's just too much. So the headline today is from Financial Times. Tesla board explores new pay deal for Elon Musk. And that's the question. How much do we pay Elon Musk? What's he worth?
And I don't know, the Elon Musk not gonna like it
Well, so from,
unless they increase.
yeah, right. They'd be like, well, what are you doing? So he was actually threatening to leave before. He was basically saying, you have to give me control of the company, voting control of the board, etc. I can still sell my stock, but you have to still give me control. So he kind of want to have his cake and eat it too, right? The other thing with Elon, if you guys don't know the pay package, it was deemed illegal. The first one.
How?
So basically, it's too big. Would be one.
Yeah.
How they made the decision on like the structure violated fiduciary duty. So basically, what's the board's general responsibility for a company?
To make the company profit.
Okay, yeah, make the company profit. What else?
What else? If you something's the harm, something the hurting company, they fire someone or they
normally.
cut something.
So the problem is that Elon put his personal friends on the board. He put his brother on the board.
Not just friends, family.
Yeah. So the court also is like, I mean, the board is not separate from Elon, basically.
Yeah, that's their family.
Yeah. And so, how they made the decision of like giving him that much money and then the structure of it, part of the structure of how Elon got paid was based on the price of the stock.
It's not about profit.
Yeah, it's about pumping up the stock.
Yeah.
So this is going to be an interesting when they come up with a new package. And then they said two of the people who are deciding the new package supposedly is Robin Denholm and Kathleen Wilson. So I guess it just says here comprised of just two people. So it's kind of a small committee.
Two people of Elon's family or friend?
So Robin Denholm, she's really corrupt. Okay, so she's the chair of the board, okay? And she's been dumping a lot of stock. Like about 500 billion worth. No. Sorry, million. Yeah, that would be million, not billion. Sorry, not billion, million.
Million.
It's a lot of money though. Don't get me wrong. And then total, I think the board members have been selling about $1 billion lately. And the big one, there's someone else who's really important who's also been selling. A couple people.
Oh, CFO.
The CFO has been dumping Tesla stock.
That's really bad sign.
Yeah. And if you don't know, CFO stands for Chief Financial Officer. So basically, the person who literally looks at Tesla's books, looks at the money. What do they say? What are they saying basically?
Yeah, you're failing. I dumped my stock.
Yeah, it's not hard to figure out, right?
Yeah.
And then there's another person who's selling. Who else?
Who?
Elon's brother. Right. So the chair is selling. Elon's brother is selling.
And CFO selling.
And the bro.
Then
right?
why are you not selling?
Yeah. So, well, one of the things I think is going on, well, I don't think, as I know, is Tesla's got this army of social media influencer people that just like talk about every day how awesome Elon is, right?
And even if they're small, the Elon's retweet, the fans, the YouTube, whatever.
Yeah. So he'll do that with multiple accounts, and some of the accounts that Elon interacts with could be Elon himself, just we call alt account or whatever, something like that. So you got that. We always have to talk about the Elon stuff because, as I always tell you guys, he's kind of like the figurehead or the top of the bubble. Like he represents the bubble. You could argue Elon, Tesla, and Bitcoin are the bubble, right? And everyone's gonna kind of look back. Yeah, you remember when people were buying that like digital gold coin thing, and it like went up to the moon?
Yeah, I'm thinking right now, it's gonna end up like Playboy Castle because he's building his compound with 14 keys.
It could be, and that's going to be an interesting drama in the future. Like out of the 14 kids, who's going to get Elon's 14? Because he's not going to. Well, to be fair to Elon, I was going to say he doesn't last forever, but maybe he's going to like figure out a way to freeze himself and copy his conscious
and
into
send to Mars.
Yeah. Send his mind and conscious to Mars. It will be his plan. On top of that, and you have to understand, so he's the figurehead of the bubble. What's going on with the overall market? So the U.S. and China, they decided to pause the tariffs, right? And the market actually liked it. So
Yeah,
S&P 500 was up.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was nonsense. Who pays 100% 45, percent of tariff?
Yeah.
But they were just word playing. People hurt, company hurt,
Yeah,
country hurt. But now say, oh, okay, you're fine now. You're just down to 30%, 10%.
And the really interesting headline, and I saw it in the sort of Trump dialogues. They had this one guy named Hassett. I showed you guys on the channel before, but he's one of Trump's economic people. And he came out on the news, and he's like, you're going to have toys on your shelves. Like they're specifically talking about store shelves.
Now I can have a 30 toys back.
I guess you can have your 30 dolls. And it was kind of funny because before they said there was no problems. After the China-U.S. thing, then they started saying, yeah, our projections were saying that we're going to maybe have empty shelves shortages around the end of summer. So what I'm saying is now they're admitting there was an actual real problem, because they were also saying before, oh, we don't need anything from China. We don't need anything from them. But that
you're fine. You're going to get rich.
Yeah, that was all BS. What's going on right now is, and I don't know if we were going to call it a Cold War. Someone will come up with some sort of phrase that'll catch on, but there'll be like if you want to call it economic sphere, I guess you could call it, or different market spheres, or different, actually, you know what, Trump would call it different department stores, I guess. But at the moment, there's sort of a dividing of networks between the U.S. side and the Chinese side. So let me give you an example. What's going on with the UK?
UK, they try to make a deal with US.
Right.
And they both say, hey, world, don't get things from China.
Yeah, so
it's not going to work like that.
Well, we're going to see. So people watch this channel in the UK, they're kind of been disappointed with their Prime Minister Starmer, who's like too much of Trump's poodle, basically. Just follow Trump around whatever he does. And because this is real, guys. Let's say in the UK it's beneficial for you to trade with China, and US says no, don't trade with China. Like, which you're going to choose? Now, for most countries, you just try to be friends with both.
Everyone, yeah.
But the US wants the UK to follow and be,
Yeah, it's like bully,
be the poodle.
Yeah, that's bully. Yeah.
The other thing that's going on that's quite interesting is China's trying to make deals with Brazil. I think Peru's on there, and other countries in South America. And one of the biggest products, do you remember which one they want from Brazil?
Brazil? I don't know.
So
the
China,
soybean.
Yeah. So China, they import like a massive amount of soybean. I think it's some crazy number, like 80% of the soybean is imported. So it's really a lot. Now the U.S., to be fair to USA, they obviously want to protect their farmers and their industry in soybean. But
in China, you fry everything, so you need a lot of oil.
Right.
And we eat a lot of tofu. They eat a lot of tofu.
Yep.
And like the soy sauce too.
Yeah. So, but that's why you trade, right? If your country, it's more difficult for you to do a certain kind of thing, then you trade is like, okay, well, for example, we have people who are going to make clothes or chips, and we'll send those to you, and you send a soybean. And some people say, well, that's not a fair trade. And this is what I'll say. I agree. The USA gets a lot of money because Apple builds, chips in. Apple builds chips in, China, and they make a ton of money. And then, yes, then U.S. sends soybean in China, and China's like, fine, I'm happy with that deal. And not everyone benefits from said thing, but it's the same in any society. Not everyone's going to benefit. And so what you have to do is figure out, okay, that's our current economic situation. And so from the U.S. perspective, then you'd want to get a job with Apple, be a manager over Apple, design chips, these kind of things. You guys know what I'm saying? Like you don't really want to like try to go back and build the chips or whatever. I know chips is a bad example. Actually, chips is a bad example because we do make chips in the USA, right? So bad example on chips. And we're trying, and because part of what's going on is in the USA, they're trying to determine which products should we definitely make in USA and like not just export all of our production somewhere else. So sorry about the chip examples of bad fish.
Yeah, same as clothes. There's American apparels made in USA, but they fail.
Yeah.
Like Forever 21 is kind of failed. What else?
So I don't know if you mean clothes made in America?
Yeah.
So I think they make some New Balance in the USA.
Some very.
We have some companies, and I'd be curious your guys' thoughts on this one. They're actually in Maine. Maine's where they make New Balance, and
Maine?
I think, yeah, the state, Maine.
Oh,
It's like near Vermont, New Hampshire, kind of in the northeast part. There's like companies like there's one called Land's End, and there's a couple others. And I'm curious. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. I'll just Google it real quick. Land's End. Where are the clothes made? I'm wondering if these are made in America. Oh, they are. I was right. It was a lucky guess. Well, it wasn't really a guess. It was a. I had a general idea. It says yes, the company is American. Hence, the clothes are made in the United States. But there's a controversy that has arisen regarding garments being made. Okay, that's coming from Bing, so that might be a bunch of BS actually. Where are lands and clothes made? So you can see this is a live show, guys. Lands and apparel is primarily manufactured in China. So actually we got two different answers then. So Bing told us
maybe
it made in USA.
the few items in America,
Well, here it says, according to at least the Google one, Made in USA claims there have been past controversies regarding Made in USA claims which have led to class action lawsuits. Wow. And there's another company in the other Land's End. It's LL Bean. You don't know these companies, so they're kind of like catalog companies. So today, you have like internet company only. Those companies were like basically you would get like this kind of paper catalog, and they would make a lot of outdoor clothes. And it was kind of funny because I don't know, those are the two ones that jumped to my head because you asked like what brands are made in USA. Because there's some brands that aren't really popular around the world. I think another one like that would be like a J. Crew. Do you know that one?
J. Crew, yeah.
I wonder if they're made in USA.
I don't think so.
But see, very few J. Crew, where are clothes made? It's kind of fun to talk about this stuff actually. Now we're talking about it. Because most stuff is made in China. Okay, so here's J. Crew, USA, Vietnam, Turkey, China, Italy. Italy's an interesting one because we had a
maybe they have like luxury premium line.
Yeah, no, but that's the conversation is why do we consider Italy to be more luxurious?
Because they have luxury brands there. Same as France, Italy. We used to buy in Korea, made in USA means luxury before.
Right.
But it's not anymore because you guys don't really make things there anymore. So we buy more like made in France, made in Italy means like luxury.
See, but we're bringing up a point here, if you guys understand the conversation, is how do countries brand themselves, right? So in the past, we would think of China as being basically cheap stuff, right? But today, for example...
But everything is from China, so...
Yeah, I mean, like every product. So here's a good example is... right now, all the money is going to this AI and chips, stuff like that. And NVIDIA is like, yo, I'm going to sell 18,000 chips to Saudi Arabia. Now, DeepSeek, which is coming from China, their value proposition is we're going to come in a lot cheaper. A lot, like 100 times cheaper kind of thing, right? Like a lot cheaper.
That's why NVIDIA, US government say, please don't buy DeepSeek.
Yeah. And they're trying to block Huawei. They're trying to tell other countries around the world, like, don't block Huawei. And essentially what you're trying to do is like, you'll brand China as though they're not real, they're cheaters, quality's not good, etc. But
these days, do you know Dyson?
Dyson, yeah, the
hair
like the hairdryer, the fans,
like
yeah, those cool looking fans,
there's a Tyson.
Oh, it's a direct copy.
People compare like Dyson, Tyson,
And you actually bring
they copy everything, but maybe first time the quality is not good.
Sure,
but
it's just a copy.
Days,
But ultimately, their products are getting better. We have yet to see a BYD car. We'll try to see one as soon as possible. But it's more than just BYD. Like their phones are actually pretty good these days. I mean, because they make all the stuff over there, and then eventually, just I'll give you an example. Part of doing business in China, Tim Cook promised that he's going to train a bunch of Chinese workers, and that could backfire. You train enough workers, and then it's like, you know what? I don't need to work at Apple. I'm just going to start my own company. Right? I mean, eventually that just happens. And if you guys haven't seen, we did an interview with Yeji's uncle, and he was talking about the development of Korea. And this will make sense in a second here. What was your uncle's job way back when?
Back he was the manager of the clothing manufacturer.
Yeah. And they would make, I think it was like ski jackets or something like that, basically.
A down jacket, ski jacket.
Well, he said polyester because I asked very specifically. I was kind of curious on the down situation, and then ultimately though Korea developed, and then they transitioned into basically machinery.
So I remember that I've been staying in Vancouver for a year.
Okay.
So 2007 to 2008. So So I went to the clothing store, I looked at stuff, and the owner said, "Where are you from?" "I'm from Korea." And he said, "Oh, we used to, you know, have a clothes that made in Korea, but now they're too expensive. We don't really make clothes there.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's now everything from like Southeast Asia."
So because basically Korea developed really quickly, right? And then now developing, and they still make heavy machinery. So for example, Korea's build ships, right? But basically your economy transforms. And the big thing, and I encourage you to watch the interview, you can find it, I'll put a link, but the big thing that your uncle said I thought was fascinating, he was like, you know, when Korea was developing, he never imagined that then Korea would be the country of designers and then they'd be importing stuff from China, right? Because essentially that's what the U.S. economy has done. They turned into more a service economy, ideas economy. Yeah. And something that the Trump people don't talk about enough, that, you know, yes, we're talking about soybeans, yes, we're talking about chips. Services and digital stuff in particular is very interesting. So for example, Google is trying to break in and dominate the Korea market, right? And so there are local internet, or I don't know if internet's the right word, we'll say technology companies here is a better way to say
Platform.
Yeah. And so they want to protect their own interests, of course, right? So the Korean market basically comes up with ways to, I don't know, block Google's the right way to put it.
Yeah,
you could call that.
It's blocked.
But what they're fighting over is data, your data, in particular, location data, these kind of things. And the idea would be,
Yeah, so country needs to protect their own, you know, product. Like, you know, we don't, in Korea, we can't really buy China phone.
Right. I guess I go to the store and there's no Huawei.
No. So we can't really use, you know, buy
I can buy Samsung, I can buy Apple.
LG, Apple.
Now, LG quit making phones. Yeah.
No more LG. So I mean, and what I was trying to say. Apple Pay just started.
Oh, right.
Samsung Pay, you know, LG Pay started way back, but Apple Pay just started.
Well, that stuff's money because the Trump people, and we're using the example of Korea protecting their market, because say in Europe, I'll be curious for those of you who say are in Europe, do you have your alternate pay systems? Like, is there a European version of PayPal? Is there a European version of WhatsApp? Is there a European version of Facebook? Like all these digital kind of things are not included in Trump's math. But guys, this is real money, like behemoth kind of money, right? And so the Google one's an interesting one, and is, okay, let's put it this way. So I'm not for monopolies, because there's a lot of problems with monopolies, and there's no competition, and you don't get the great innovation, stuff like that. Now, the advantage of a monopoly, or I'll put it in two different ways. A monopoly would allow, for example, that, let's say, Google reviews on the maps are everywhere, and then we all have a place to where we can see, you know, people's opinions on restaurants and hotels and that kind of stuff. Because Google reviews is big in some countries, and then some countries not. It might be a different platform that's more popular. But the other way that people would say, because this came out a situation with Microsoft. So when I was a kid, the DOC, that was Microsoft. That was their thing. And then there was like WordPerfect, I think was the other competition. I don't remember what their file format was. And then you had Adobe was.
Korea, Hangul.
Oh, yeah. And Korea had their own word processor. Is that still popular? People still use it?
Hangul.
Okay. And then PDF was Adobe for a while. And there was a time then when people were like, well, we can't just have one document, so let's make it open source, meaning that you know, it should be a type of file that we all programs can access. Now that clearly hurts certain you know, companies, of course, because then Microsoft loses their dominance on word processing. But you'd have to think about, like, say with the Google review example, could we come up with a system that's open to where all the platforms share reviews, and then a restaurant then has kind of one rating? And then it hurts and helps certain companies. Like Yelp used to be big in USA.
Not anymore. Everyone uses just Google.
I'll be curious you have to ask them, right? Because your guys' thoughts. So I used to use Yelp, but I think that might be American only, perhaps. I don't know. I can't speak for Yelp in every country around the world. I just know Google is really popular around the world, and it's really convenient because it's connected to the maps, and the maps work really well. So how they block it here in Korea, Naver is like...
Naver, Kakao. But Naver is number one.
Yeah, and what they do is the Korean government gives Naver the high-res maps. And so like it's like really good maps, and then Google's got like kind of poor maps.
So when he came to Korea first time, he tried to use Google Map, but it gives you a wrong direction. So he lost like 30 million.
Yeah, that was like a year ago or something.
Yeah, I told you to
yeah,
use
true story.
Yeah, neighbor man, why do you use Google Map in Korea?
So this is why I got lost, and I think I might have been using Apple Map, I think. Not
even
Google.
worse.
Literally even worse. So what happened was there were two stations. One was the train station, and the other was the subway station. Yeah, and I needed to go to the subway, and ended up going on the train. I still made it home fine, but it's just I literally went to the wrong station, and it was kind of funny because they were right next to each other. And I was walking around that station, and then the other thing too was late at night.
And you was just right there.
Yeah, yeah.
You were like takes 30 minutes.
There's no true story. There was a fork in the road. And it's like I had two different ways to go, and Apple Maps told me to go one way. I was like, all right, fine. So, and the funny thing with that, for all we know, because you never know this stuff, maybe Apple's got a deal with the train company, and they get kickbacks for sending you to the. Because I ended up paying a little bit more that night. I think I paid like. It's a true story. It's funny. I forgot about that. She reminds me of all this kind of stuff that I do. But so there's that. So if you guys ever wonder if like, am I perfect? No, absolutely not. I make mistakes all the time. But actually that brings up a good point with talking about money and investing and these kind of things. Is you guys may or not know this. I'm 50, and I have to mention my age because for young kids, they always just assume that I'm 20-something years old or whatever.
No, 20 is not.
They do. People actually write that. But the thing is, like, you live and learn, right? I've seen people like Elon Musk come and go. And there's only so long that you can tell people that you're all going to have 20, well, it's 5 robots a person. I'm exaggerating 20, but, you can tell you're all going to have 5 robots.
Yeah, live in Star Wars life.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a bunch of nonsense. And the thing I was telling Yeji just today, I was thinking about it, is if Elon were real, right, he would have a factory today, right now, with say 1,000 robots in it, working all humanoid, and they'd be building whatever stuff, and he'd say, hey, look at my factory works. If you want it, you can buy into it. But he doesn't have that. And that's, I mean, the simple example would be, here's an example of it, would be like something like McDonald's. McDonald's was originally just like a mom and pop store, basically, and they had pretty good hamburgers. And their innovation was basically, how Ford builds the assembly line, and it just goes like station to station. So the idea was the same with the hamburgers. Like you build not a hamburger all at once, but like one person say maybe butters the bun, another person puts the meat on, another person puts the and then they also, you could even improve it even more by like making it so simple for the worker to you do these 3 things, you step here, you do these 2 things, like you just make it really clear, because how I make a sandwich or whatever is so inefficient at home. And so the other thing was kind of interesting. Was they got rid of plates and went to like styrofoam, because the restaurant in the past would be you wash the dishes, and so McDonald's would be an innovation of like I'm not saying it's good to just have a bunch of garbage now, but it made it so that you could be much fast. It was literally fast food, and then you took that model that worked, basically pump out burgers as fast as you can. And then they also got rid of the, there used to be people who used to roller skate to your car. I don't know if they ever did that in Korea.
No,
you'd park your car in, and the person would roller skate, and you'd have a tray on your car.
Yeah, we never. We drive-through is pretty new in Korea.
Yeah. So basically though, that model worked, the model that McDonald's does, and then all the companies basically want to copy that, right? And so that's what I'm saying. If Elon was really the genius with the robot stuff, he would have a robot factory, or a factory using his robots right now that was producing whatever stuff, or he would be living in his house right now with a robot doing all of the household chores.
The last time they checked, they had one robot. Their factory, though.
Oh, okay. So they do have some robots in the factory. You're correct. They do, and they're moving a few like batteries around, but they're teleoperated. Do you know what that means?
Yeah, but that's not humanoid.
You're talking about okay. Good point. So yeah, all car companies these days have like human robot arms.
Yeah.
So I'm saying if his factories really work, he'd have like these robots walking around running the whole factory, and
humanoid.
Yeah, but that's what he's trying to sell. He's trying to sell us humanoid robots, right? So I'm not against machinery. Like for example, we all have conveyor belts, right? We all have elevators.
No, we are not talking about that.
No. But we're talking about if Elon were real, he'd be proving it right now that his humanoid robots can replace humans. Because that's the end goal. Because people keep asking, what's the end goal? The end goal is to take your job.
Take your job, and you just live in the Mars and enjoy your life.
In Mars.
Yeah, in Mars.
It doesn't add up, And what's nuts is that that's the person who bought the president, and then that guy, the president recently taken a jet for 400 million or whatever, and they're off in Saudi Arabia selling these scams. And I get it, guys. People say, "Oh, Chris, you're so dumb. Elon's so rich." But that's why this whole thing's a bubble. How can the supposed richest guy selling everyone an obvious scam? You know, how long can this last? And that's what our market is based on right now. So anyway, just wanted to have some conversation with you guys about this stuff. I want to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next video. So bye.